Thank you. GE is undergoing one of the largest and frankly most important transformations in our 140-year history. We've moved to starting to combine the physical world of machines with the logical world and the digital world of software to create new outcomes for our customers that are going to change the way they operate their businesses. For example, in our renewables business, where we make wind turbines, we're creating a software-enabled or a software-defined wind farm. This wind farm allows the turbines to individually talk to each other so they can understand how each is operating, to understand the ambient temperature, wind, and weather that is local to that environment and optimize themselves. And that software-defined wind turbine environment is seeing 10 to 20% improvements in power output through the combination of the physical and the digital world. Inside GE, we're also on this same journey. In our manufacturing plant in Greenville, South Carolina, we're taking the machine data, the information around how the plant operates, and we're combining it with the engineering data around how parts are designed. We're designing a solution that will allow us to reduce the cycle time of new part introduction by 20% by connecting the 3D model that comes off an engineer's desktop and with no manual touch be able to produce that on the manufacturing line and be able to reduce the overall cost of operations and the cost to our customers. This will generate $1 billion of productivity across the General Electric company over the next 5 years. Today, industrials have to become digital to thrive going forward. The reality is that when customers and when companies start to understand that they can take their domain expertise, so within GE, it's our 140 years of experience in creating power, it's our understanding of aircraft engines, it's our understanding of the locomotive market, and combine that with new digital tools, they're able to create outcomes that they were never able to create before. In fact, GE strives to be a world-class leading digital industrial company for the future, and we will generate by the year 2020 $15 billion of our revenue from software. That will make us one of the top 10 software companies in the world. Now, as you can imagine, for a company that is 140 years old, we've got a lot of sins of the past to deal with. Like many of you, I've got 9,000 applications that we use across our business today. We've got over 300 ERPs 2 years ago that were running our business, and too many physical data centers to talk about. And so we've really had to look at what we were going to have to change within our own environment to enable us to become this leading digital industrial in the world. And it started with some simple things, going from bespoke, standalone systems that didn't talk to one another to a real service management view for how we provide services and how we provide transactions to our environment. To rethink the network, 2,000 locations around the world that are network connected. We need to think about the network very differently. Connections aren't going to look like physical locations anymore. They're going to be mobile. We're talking to aircraft that are flying around the world. We're talking to power plants that are in the middle of deserts. So we had to rethink the way we think about network segmentation. We had to take more of a risk-based approach to security and controls. We're dealing with some of the world's most critical infrastructure, and understanding the security and understanding how to take a risk-based approach to that was important. Self-service and automation had to be the mantra with everything that we do, and at the end of the day, financial transparency for our end users was a critical component of how we were going to deliver going forward. And there were 3 basic things that we fundamentally had to change to be able to get this right. The first is people. Like many of you, over the last 10 years, we outsourced way too much. And so part of it was retooling our own environment. In the last 2 years, we've hired over 2,000 IT professionals, bringing our knowledge capital back into GE, and we've made a $1 billion investment in creating a software center of excellence and design center in San Ramon, California, that will enable us to build high-quality applications and technology. Now, the second element that we had to get right was technology. We're taking a build versus buy mentality for things that matter. Andy, in the keynote at the beginning, brought up, be differentiated on things that matter and things that aren't. And for us, what differentiates us is the software and algorithms that allow us and our customers to run their businesses differently. The things that we're going to choose to buy are the things that don't differentiate us, and for those we're going to have great partners, and that's, frankly, where AWS comes to play. AWS has been working with us for the past 4 years and has become one of our trusted partners. Why? Because I'm not going to sell another aircraft engine because I run a global compute factory very well. I'm not going to sell another locomotive because I figured out how to engineer the user experience really well for my developers. I'm not going to sell another oil and gas pump or pig because I've really figured out how to do self-service and build the different structure features around my infrastructure going forward. That's AWS's differentiator in the environment. That's what they do well, and that's what we feel they do best in class, and that's what's made them a great partner for us going forward. So for us, what this looks like going forward, we're going to migrate over 9,000 workloads into AWS over the next 3 years. We're going to go from having over 9,000 applications to 4,000 applications in our environment. We're going to go from 34 data centers to 4 data centers, and those 4 data centers will only hold what we value most secretly, our secret sauce on things that differentiate us completely in the environment. Everything else is going to go to AWS from our perspective going forward. AWS is our trusted partner that's going to run our company for the next 140 years. But, you know, an example speaks louder than words, and so I thought I would just share with you one really simple example that I think everybody will get, and it comes from our oil and gas business. They've migrated over 50% of their load already into AWS, and one of the applications they've moved is a configurator. This is a quoting tool that our sales teams use mobily in the customer sites to be able to quote for products. In the old world, we would spend about $62,000 to run this application. We would take in about $600,000 in orders. And anytime that we wanted to push a change into this environment, it would take us on average 20 days to move into that environment. After moving to AWS, that same application now runs for $6,000. We're able to deploy code in less than 2 minutes instead of 20 days. And at the end of the day, we had a ton of unintended consequences that were on the good side. Global performance went up. Availability of the application went up. The sales team looked at this as a differentiator for them in being able to quote more tools because the application actually worked better in their environment. So the unintended consequences for us are almost better than the intended consequences of our move to the cloud. So going forward, this is where we're going. We intend to move over 60% of our global workload into AWS. For us, this is no longer an experiment. It's no longer a test. It's no longer something that we talk about being probable. It's inevitable. We're moving, and we're glad to have AWS as our partner. Thanks very much.